4 years ago, almost nobody was calling Spain the future of world football. France was the team everyone feared. The deepest squad, the biggest stars, the safest prediction, and honestly, that still sounds reasonable today. But something interesting has happened over the last few years, quietly, without the noise, without the headlines. Spain may have built the one thing every World Cup winner needs. Not a superstar, not a system, a perfect moment. Because when analysts started looking ahead to 2026, one question kept appearing. Why does Spain suddenly look stronger every year? And the answer isn't what most fans think. It actually begins years before Euro 2024, years before Lamine Yamal became a global star, years before Spain started appearing near the top of World Cup predictions. It begins with a coach who already knew many of these players before the world did. Luis de la Fuente wasn't meeting these players for the first time when they reached the senior national team. He had coached many of them through Spain's youth system. He watched them grow, watched them fail, watched them improve. While other national teams were trying to create chemistry during international breaks, Spain had something different, relationships that had been developing for years. And that's a bigger advantage than it sounds. Because international football is strange. You can gather 23 incredible players together and still end up with a team that feels disconnected. Spain didn't have that problem. They arrived with a shared football language, a shared identity, and suddenly something started clicking. But here's the part most people missed. The rebuild wasn't built around a striker or a defender or even a future Ballon d'Or candidate. It was built around the area Spain understands better than almost any country on earth: midfield. Think about the greatest Spanish teams. The names change, the managers change, the tactics change, but one thing always remains: control. Spain doesn't just want to win, they want to decide how the game is played. And right now, they might have one of the strongest midfield groups in international football. Rodri, Pedri, Zubamendi, Marino. Different players, different personalities, yet somehow they fit together naturally. And if you watched Euro 2024, you probably felt it too. There were moments when Spain looked inevitable, not because they were overwhelming opponents with possession, but because they always seemed one step ahead, one pass ahead, one decision ahead. That's a terrifying quality in tournament football, because knockout matches are often decided by tiny moments, one mistake, one turnover, one moment of control. And few teams control matches better than Spain currently do. But midfield alone doesn't win World Cups. If it did, Spain would have won a lot more tournaments over the last decade. The real difference comes next. And honestly, this is where many fans still haven't updated their image of Spain. People still imagine the old version: endless passing, slow attacks, patient possession, sometimes too patient. This team isn't like that, not anymore. Spain still loves the ball, but now they're willing to hurt you with it. Fast, direct, ruthless. Players like Nico and Lamine Yamal changed the equation completely. Suddenly, defenders couldn't just sit back and wait. Suddenly, Spain had speed, explosiveness, chaos. The kind of chaos that breaks tournaments apart. And that's what made their European Championship run so dangerous. They could dominate possession, or they could attack in transition. They could play through you or around you. The scary thing wasn't what Spain did. The scary thing was how many ways they could do it. And before we go further, think about this. Which team has the strongest midfield heading into 2026? Spain? France? Someone else? Because the next reason Spain worries analysts may actually be the biggest one: timing. Football history is full of golden generations that never won the World Cup. Not because they weren't talented, because they arrived at the wrong moment. Too early, too late. Football can be cruel like that. One injury, one missed tournament, one bad year, and suddenly an entire generation disappears. We've seen it happen over and over again. That's why timing matters so much. And Spain's timing looks almost perfect. Many of their key players are entering the most important years of their careers. Experienced enough to handle pressure, young enough to dominate physically, old enough to understand tournaments, young enough to recover from them. That balance is rare, very rare. Then there's Lamine Yamal. And this next part surprised me when I looked into it. By the time the World Cup arrives, the player who stunned Europe as a teenager will still only be 18 years old. 18. Think about that. Most players are trying to break into elite football at that age. He's already shaping major tournaments. The biggest mistake people make is assuming Spain depends on them. They don't. That's what makes them dangerous. This isn't a one-man team. Take Yamal away and Spain remains strong. Take one midfielder away and they remain strong. Take one defender away and they remain strong. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the one thing that has traditionally separated France from everyone else: depth. For years, France seemed unfair. An injury happened, another elite player appeared, a veteran retired, another world-class talent emerged. The conveyor belt never stopped. Spain still hadn't fully reached that level. Let's be fair, France probably remains the deepest national team in football, but for the first time in a long time, Spain are close enough for the comparison to exist, and that's a huge change. Competition for places, young players challenging established names, quality sitting on the bench. That's how World Cups are won, not with 11 great players, with 23 players capable of changing a match. And Spain are getting closer to that reality every year.
Now here's the fact that should make every rival nervous. Spain didn't just win Euro 2024.
They won every single match.
7 games, 7 victories. No team had ever completed a European championship with a perfect 7-win campaign before. Not France, not Germany, not Italy, nobody. And maybe that's the biggest clue of all. Because dominant teams don't appear overnight. When people look back later, the signs are usually obvious. The evidence was already there. The world simply ignored it. Back in 2010, Spain arrived at the World Cup and changed football forever. Very few people saw it coming. That's the part that should make France nervous, because the last time Spain looked this complete, the rest of the world realized it too late.